to neutral colors just because writing different colors felt too out there for me. Overall, I just wasn't comfortable with myself, and because of that, I wasn't able to like truly be myself. And so coming to college, I decided to like have a fresh start and actually make an effort to put myself out there, joining all the orgs I could, meeting as many people as I can, and learning to present myself more confidently and proudly. A lot of who I am today is because of everything MASA has given me. I remember my first event as a freshman was Running Man, where, I should be talking with this, was where I met a lot of the other freshmen that I'm still friends with today. Like, hey, that girl! And, yeah. What was memorable about that event for me was all the energy and enthusiasm I got from MASA. There was this trend that the freshmen and I had where, during Running Man, where whenever someone would say the word freshman, we would all start cheering and saying like, woo, wow, hey! And for me, coming from a background where I was a lot more shy and awkward in high school, and then being in that setting all of a sudden, in a public setting, like actually screaming out loud, I was thinking to myself, wow, like I'm actually like screaming out loud and like cheering, like that was something new for me. And so that's just one thing about MASA, is that coming here to MASA, you automatically come to like a welcoming environment that lets you be who you are, lets you meet friends that accept you for who you are, lets you grow as your own self and not as you trying to be someone else or someone that's like liked by others. And then I moved on to join KF in winter quarter, where it really pushed me out of my comfort zone to socialize and dance with a bunch of people I just met. And at first, it was hard learning to dance and retain choreography, but once I started getting to the body rolls, I was like, hey, I can do that! And, so I thought maybe I can actually try hip hop. And so through KF, I became a lot more socially confident, a lot more physically confident, losing weight, gaining more awareness about my posture, not hunching as much as I used to. Although I still do when I'm like tired, but that's like old habits. And then just hanging out with and getting to know a lot of different people in KF. And then there's fusion staff, where you really gain like a more professional setting and where you sort of work together as a collective faction to do something that's like beyond yourself. Okay, not that I'm trying to like root for my team that I ran for, but yeah. And then there's MASA staff, where I didn't quite realize why I was applying until midway through the process. Before I was thinking to myself like, can I really do something like this big, like something beyond me? Like, can I actually become like one of these staff members you see here or there? I was just like, really? But then I realized like midway through my interview, like when I was talking about MASA, like how much it meant to me, like how much MASA is like a home away from home, a group of friends, and taught me just a lot more, just gave me a lot more self-motivation to better myself, whether it be keeping eye contact with others like I am right now, or it's dressing in a better fashion. Like, I don't know when the last time I dressed like this was, but I definitely worked hard for this election to dress up more nicely. And so, in my time on staff, I learned a lot more about myself and my limits, both emotionally and professionally, in terms of like taking on workloads that keeps me, I don't know, a lot of the workload at the same time. And so, it really pushed myself to juggle a bunch of responsibilities and taught me how to time manage, how to use my time more efficiently and do a lot more things that I could be doing instead of like just sitting down and like watching TV shows or something. And beyond that, I also learned a lot more about others and seeing situations in not just my own perspective, but others' perspectives, keeping in mind that a situation may not look like what it looks like on the surface, but is actually a lot more. Like, you may think someone comes in late, and like that's unforgivable, but they might have their own reasons for doing that. And so that's always something to keep in mind, so always keep an open mind with that. And so, MASA, everything from its staff, its GBMers, its events, creates a welcoming, embracing environment where you can just be yourself. And with that, something I really learned that's important to me this year is that a lot of who I am today is what I was in high school still. I was like just as derpy, just as outgoing with close friends, facilitating that growth. And so, main theme for my vision this year, or for presidency, would be growth. That's not just growth for GBMers, not just growth for staff, but also MASA itself. And for GBMers, it can vary in many different ways, but I think if you join MASA and you come to it, you'll naturally come to an environment where you can really grow. You not only have that welcoming environment with your friends and fellow peers, but you also have KF, where you really get to grow more physically, where you get to know yourself more on a physical level, get outside of your comfort zone. And then there's also Fusion, where you get to professionally develop in sponsorship settings or media and whatnot. And so that's something that naturally comes already. But I feel like what needs to be done to get GBMers that growth is to reach out to them more, to get them to come out more. And so what that means is doing more with our events. I feel like a lot of our events this year might not have been the most outgoing, not the most out there events. A lot of more safer events, maybe like a lot of on-campus events like game nights, or just events like Warren Sack and whatnot, but not a lot of off-campus events that really gets people to explore more of the outside world. And so what I would want to do with that is have more off-campus events, have more daring events, events that aren't safe but take more of a risk. And for that, it also means adding more costs, relying on more drivers. But there are ways to fix that, ameliorate that. We can have drivers we can reimburse drivers through fundraising funds. We can provide GBMer discounts, like the first 10 or 20 that apply for the event. And so that's something I want to do. I want to reach out to more GBMers, and through that, in the way that we reach out naturally as staff members, also reach out by having more events that entice them to come. And so with that, there's also the growth of staff, which will naturally come as you join staff. It may seem like that my goal to have more off-campus events, to have more out there events, may seem more stressful, seem more likely to burn staff out, but I believe that there are ways to get around that. Instead of relying just on staff or drivers, we can rely on our GBMers for drivers, as long as we reimburse them and get them to come out more, entice them to our events. And there's a lot more to it than just that. Probably one of my biggest goals would be to take care of staff and make sure that they're not burnt out. And so, with that, there's the growth of GBMers and staff members, but I also want to build growth for MASA itself. And what that means is expanding out our org from not just ourselves, but outside to other orgs, or outside to more to the off-campus world. Because if you think about it, on campus, there's not just us as an org, but there's 553 other orgs. And that's just MASA among all of that. And if you think about it, we're sort of in our own bubble with everything, not from our events to our own hangouts and our own friends. But what I believe is we should expand ourselves out more. Have not just join events with other cultural orgs, but also join events with other charity orgs. That way we can have more